Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilia and to another episode of Pitching for Yu-Gi-Oh! 7. A series in where I pitch to you, the audience, an idea that the show could possibly go with for Season 7 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, just disclaimer, these are just ideas. They are purely fictional. I don't know anything about the next series. However, if any of these ideas do come to fruition, then you heard it here. However, I thought it'd just be a fun little topic to talk about. And today's topic, as you can see, is what the new summoning method could be. Now, before I get started, there are two ways in which I feel like this could go. So, I'm going to talk about one first, and then I'm going to talk about the other afterwards. Then hopefully afterwards you can tell me which one you prefer. Or if you think that neither of them are even good enough to be a good summoning method. But with all that out of the way, let's get started. So, every time a new Yu-Gi-Oh! Series comes out, there's always a new summoning method. The first one, we had Rituals. GX was Fusion. 5Ds was Synchro. We had Zexal or Zale, however you want to call it, with Exceed Summoning. Pendulums with Arc 5, and then Link Summoning with Vrains. So, it's safe to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 will have another summoning method. And what summoning method would that be? Well, my idea for this new summoning method is, I don't really know the name yet, but for this video I'm calling it Extra Summoning. Because that kind of fits for both of the kind of themes that I'm going with. Now, like I said, I have two ways in which this method could work. So I'll explain the first one, then hopefully I'll go on to the next one. And one of them will pique your interest. So, the first one. Using a change of deck halfway through a match. Or basically having something that I call the exchange deck. Now, let me show you the field in which it would kind of look like if we were to do this. So, as you can see up on this image here, you've got the main deck. You've got the GY, the graveyard. And above that, you've got the extra deck. The exchange deck. Because you've already got an extra deck, so no point double calling that, that'd just be confusing. However, this mechanic would be something in where you would need to basically search your deck for a certain card. If you found that certain card and you set that card and it stays on your field, it could be a field spell, or it could be like a continuous trap or continuous spell card. As long as that card remains on the field, you can access cards from your exchange deck. And what these cards are basically cards that are more powerful. They're more powerful and they don't require the name will come to me in a minute. They don't require a tributing. Most of the powerful monsters like Blue Eyes, like Dark Magician, they all require tribute summons. These extra cards wouldn't require that. However, you'd have some that have pretty much no skill whatsoever in terms of monsters, but they'll have very high attack points. You have some that are low in attack points, but have very good skills. You could also add in the odd trap card and spell card with that as well, because that would work as well as in the way the abilities are kind of set out. Now, you wouldn't necessarily want this to be too overpowered, so to kind of minimalize this, the way that I can see it doing or working out and how I would go about it would be to have it to where you can either you can have one card from that extra deck, exchange deck, once per turn. And this could be done two ways. You could have it done as to where you draw a card from there instead of drawing from your main phase at the start of the battle, start of the turn. Or you could have it to where you have a card effect that allows you to draw one card. Thus, you get basically two draws in one turn, because you've got your main deck draw and you've got your exchange deck draw. So that's one way how you would balance the whole drawing the cards out. Now, again, the amount of cards is a bit iffy, but I would say 10 to 15 cards would be efficient, because that way you can put in the good cards that you want, but you'll still have that rough chance of pulling the card that you actually need, therefore not making it too overpowering or too game breaking. Now, as you can see on this board, there's no pendulums. Yeah, that's because looking at everything and looking at some of the things I asked people, pendulums weren't that desirable. So I decided that on this board, for this example, to leave out the pendulum area, because for this summoning method, you could use diffusions, you could use exceeds again later on, but pendulums, they're not really wanted at the moment. I asked 100 people, and about 5 of them said that they would like to see pendulums again, and the rest said they weren't that bothered as long as the others were in there. So to me, that tells me that pendulums, yes, they were a good gimmick to start with, but they weren't as popular as every other summoning method that we've had so far. Plus, we didn't see any in Vrains. And yes, people were speculating that we could have them in Vrains, but at the same time, they weren't bothered that they weren't in it, in that show. So you could possibly do that again. So, like I said, you could also do highly powerful spell and trap cards. That would work as well, and still add a bit more kind of variety to what cards you can put in. Now you're probably thinking, this doesn't work. They've never used this. Not even our competitors would use this. But unfortunately, you'd be wrong on that one, because there is a competitor to your company that makes children's card games, known as Cardfight Vanguard. Not Cardfight Vanguard. Wrong one. Future Card Body Fight. And in this series, there is the antagonist of the Ace series that basically uses a world known as Lost World. As you can see up on screen here, this world is basically a world in which you have to have a certain card, use that card. I think it's Lost Vanity Dimension, if I remember correctly, which means you can swap your current deck with your Lost World deck. And that basically gives you a whole new variety of gameplay style. It could even turn the match upside down. The cards inside in that world is much more powerful, much more terrifying. And the reason why I bring all this up is because once these cards were released, loads of people who were involved in the Future Card Buddy Fight series was absolutely infatuated with them. This world saw a lot of use because of its variety, because of its kind of uniqueness. And if we were to incorporate this into Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm sure it would have the same sort of effect. So that basically is the idea for the first one. Having another deck slot that sits on the side that you can access, that's slightly more powerful and more convenient for the player, and is still somewhat easy to get to, but at the same time you still need to work in doing it. And there are cards throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! That would actually destroy the card, stopping people from getting into the exchange deck. So it's not like it's going to be too powerful once it's already out. It can still be destroyed. So now let's talk about the second way in which this would work. So the second way in which this would work would be adding an extra monster slot, or adding an extra spell and trap slot, depending on the card skill that you put down. So here's an example. Here's the board again. Again, you've got the main deck, you've got the graveyard, you've got a monster zone, you've got the spell and trap zone, you've got the extra deck, you've got the field spell, link monsters, and then, say for example, you have a card with a skill that says, when you put this card down, add another monster slot. So basically, your monster zone becomes 6 instead of 5, thus giving you more of a chance to kind of manipulate the board, more chance of putting down and adding to your combos, fusing, anything like that. It'll just make it a lot more easier. Now, you can do this for spell and trap cards as well, and this would have a great effect, because say for example, you want to use the card Destiny Board, which you need to get 5 cards out in total, which you only have 5 slots. But say you've got a really annoying card that you can't get rid of because it's a face down card, your opponent won't activate or do anything to kind of get this card to be in effect. But if you add an extra spell or trap card zone, that problem then gets resolved, and it adds more of a competitive and more of a complex strategy kind of thinking mindset. Now, the reason why I also call this different than the other one is fairly simple. It's because if you were to look at this method compared to the one I've just shown you, the one about adding a new slot depending on the card skill is very easy and basic. Yes, that may be the case, but it could also be quite effective. As well as the fact is, it's very easy and very child-friendly. So for that instance, if you have a younger audience that wants to get into the card game, yes, okay, they could go with speed dueling because that's a new reboot that you've kind of gone with. However, this would be a good way for people to come into the actual proper game and easily have a skill that they can pick up and use right off the bat. Because it's something that's powerful, something that could work to everyone's advantage, but it's still simple. And at the end of the day, that's all we need as players. I mean, some people like to be overcomplicated and do things dramatically, but quite a lot of people just want to have fun. And I reckon that summoning method would add a bit more fun to it. And who knows, this could be a great way to basically resell old cards as well. I know, again, you've got the speed dueling, but just bear with me a second. If you've got this sort of mini effect that adds new field and stuff down, but people don't want to play speed dueling, they want to play the actual proper game with the whole board, then maybe you can bring back cards like Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician, Neos. You could bring back Red Eyes and stuff like that with this ability. This actually gives them an ability that isn't changing their card, but it is kind of making it a bit better and giving more reason for people to buy it. Even people who are just competitive and want to have an extra kind of trick up their sleeve to try and throw their opponent off later on, don't want to buy these cards because it gives them that psychological edge, which thus means you get more money. And as a business, that's all you really want. Now, those are just two ideas that I thought of for a new summoning method. I hope you will at least consider one of them and add that one into the next Yu-Gi-Oh series, as I do honestly believe it will help boost your card game and your sales, your takings, and it might increase your younger audience. Thus, your company will strive. Now, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know all your thoughts down below and which method you prefer down in the comment section. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, so you never miss a video from me as I do more anime related content, both Yu-Gi-Oh and non-Yu-Gi-Oh. And I hope you'll have a great day. Bye for now.